stand. So now we will move to the select board liaison updates.
Okay, no stress.
I think that, can you hear us, Samantha?
Yeah, the sound just got a little distant and echoey, but
Interesting, that would be the change from the microphone on my phone to a microphone that costs $1,500.
I can hear you though.
But might need to make some changes to the settings, and it's, the flapping around of papers is detrimental too. I think if there's nothing, so we've got other stuff to talk about, so if there's nothing specifically that anybody wants to ask me about regarding my select board liaison position, I could go on and on about any number of things. Everybody should vote.
If we were talking about.
Where do things stand on the peer moratorium?
Oh,
The what? I missed that, Samantha.
that's a good point. The peer moratorium is about where we left off. We did, the select board voted to overturn the code enforcement officer decision the other day. And so that one is going to be built, but the moratorium remains in place. And I think that the semi-consensus of some of the members of the board was to hold off on discussing that with the planning board until after the election, so that it wouldn't all have to be rehashed with new members, since we don't necessarily know who's going to be on the board. I guess one other thing that I would say is Mid-Coast Solid Waste doesn't fall, into the town of Camden specifically. It's that shared transfer station, but there are any number of issues that are very conservation related. We're looking right now at the next waste disposal contract. There are no good options at this point. The state of Maine is in crisis, really, in terms of viable options. Eco-Maine is more or less at capacity, as they have been. The waste-to-energy facility in Portland, PERC, the incinerator that we used to have a contract with, is struggling. Maybe they'll be online in the future and maybe not. And then currently we have our contract with Crossroads landfill in Norwich Walk, which is going to be expiring. And so the Mid-Coast Solid Waste Board is basically determining whether or not we have somewhat of a deadline if we want to sign a 10-year contract with Waste Management to continue going to the landfill. The benefits of that is that we could, before everything gets straightened out statewide, maybe we could get in secure our place at the landfill at a potentially lower cost than it would be if we waited for a few years. The downside, of course, is everything environmentally. You're committing to doing the very lowest thing on the waste hierarchy. So trying to figure out if that makes sense. And then the other option would be the Municipal Review Committee, which is that cooperative of 100 and something towns that has been working they did build a new facility that had to close pretty much as soon as it opened because of COVID, and they ran out of financing. And those communities have been doing the same thing that we're doing, going to the landfill while they're looking for a buyer for their facility. And anybody that's interested in that, I could send on the same email that I sent to the Mid-Coast Solid Waste Board that kind of gives an overview of where that facility is at. And but we're kind of at a crossroads again of deciding, do we want to just try to secure our place in this area that we know isn't, what anybody wants to be doing in the long term environmentally, and just let other people worry about kind of solving the state's waste issues? Or do we want to be a part of the group of towns trying to kind of figure it out as a cooperative? So it's going to be something that will probably be eventually voted on in one capacity or another, but.
The biggest difference between the two right now is one is just disposal, and the other facility takes the same amount takes in the waste, but then kind of goes through it and either digests it or processes it and creates something to kind of reduce the amount of waste that actually does get landfilled. So once they go through these two different technologies they've implemented, they theoretically have reduced the waste stream by like 50%.
Yeah, and so this is the actual physical, like, trash itself.
Yeah.
As opposed to the recycling end of things. Like,
Well, they'll take out recycling out of the trash.
out of the trash, okay, that's, yeah, but
They'll
I'm saying,
do
like,
that.
our recycling is still functioning separately and with whatever level of success.
Yeah.
Right.
That still will operate as is, or
Right.
in some.
Yeah, which is
And
one of
then it's really the bagged or or.
The municipal solid waste.
right, the stuff, your
Okay.
household trash, anything that
Rubbish.
people would put in a yellow bag.
Okay, which at this point, we all are well aware that probably 50% of what's going in there could be recycled or composted or.
Or composted or digested or what was it with the pulped. They have a pulping thing.
I mean, but the big thing is that new facility isn't online right now.
Right.
There's a component of it that's, that was very functional before they had to close. It's just your basic, what they call like a materials recovery facility that pulls out, and many of them do this all over the place. They pull out recyclables from the waste stream at varying degrees of success. So that part is kind of off-the-shelf technology that's working in lots of other places. The part that is more to be seen whether it gets up and running is creating biogas and the digester and some of these different pulping operations. And so the concern in terms of, especially for some, is like not wanting to, there is no facility that's running exactly that same process anywhere else. Different components of it are, but it's kind of a debate between whether we should be trying something new as a group of, newish as a group of communities, or whether we shouldn't. Some towns, because they found it completely not viable to have a recycling program because they're of the transportation costs, as part of this whole shift, they said, you know what, it'll be better from a carbon footprint standpoint and from a cost standpoint and all kinds of things, just to give up on their recycling programs and say we're going to try to let a facility do it, which has been a kind of a catastrophe a little bit in the short term for communities that did that, and now this facility isn't online. But at the same time, a lot of them ended their recycling programs for different reasons, because that single stream zero sort recycling system where you're allowed to put everything all in the same bin, that the price per ton of that right now is anywhere between 2 and 3 times the cost of trash. So that whole idea of like, we save money by recycling and all of this stuff is,
I always thought that was dumb.
it's not true. It's been true in the past at times, depending on what the prices are, but right now it's just completely not. So it's good in many ways that we haven't gone to that system.
The price per bag and everybody else's price has gone up now, right?
Yeah.
I mean, theoretically, realistically, it should be much, much more.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's getting a free ride.
Oh, yeah, it's cheap.
And
Everybody thinks it's expensive.
Yeah,
It's not that bad.
well, I mean, it facilitates a lot of behavior that shouldn't be.
Right.
We waste more because it's as cheap as it is.
Right.
But I don't know how you get there. You have to just make it.
Hopefully the extended producer liability bill will, I think that passed a year ago and they're working on the regulations for that. And part of the issue is the start of the, where it's all coming from in the first place, all the packaging on everything. And so hopefully that will help too.
That's who's profiting.
Right,
It's a free ride.
you have to like eliminate it at the source.
Yeah.
You know, trying to deal with it at the end is always the worst way to deal with it.
Yep.
I have a question. What happens to the green debris at the dump?
So there's the leaf pile,
Yeah.
the leaf and the yard waste, and then there's brush.
Does that get composted at all, or?
Well, it's leaf mold, I mean, it's composting, it's a leaf and grass pile.
What are we doing with it?
We're piling it up and composting it, in theory.
Oh, really?
Yeah, not officially.
Is there a
What?
compost monitor there? And is
No,
everybody
that's what I mean, it's
actually,
not an
like,
official, so
turning it on
So-
a
It used to
regular
go in
basis
the-
and?
it doesn't get thrown away is the point. And if I can't compost it on site, I'll give it to somebody that will compost it. But like we had this same thing in Rockland, and then we ended up getting a grant, we built a composting operation. You need a permit and all that stuff to do that though, so I don't really have an official composting area, I have a collection area. A day area, we'll call it.
Yeah, when I lived in Berkeley, they had the dump had a whole, big piles of green waste that they
Yeah.
composted, and then you could buy it back from them,
Yeah.
for
We did the
$5.
same
But if
thing,
it's only
I
if
made
it's
hundreds
managed
and
well.
hundreds of yards of compost.
Hmm.
It's a great, but though, I will say though, if you're not careful with it, you give people a lot of weeds.
That's why I'm saying it's
It's a hard thing to,
it can only be done on a municipal site if you have somebody who is
you have to
properly
have
trained.
oversight, yeah.
And it's managed as an actual green waste, and yeah, it's because it's.
You have the right
There was
temperatures.
a lot of free composts on a lot of municipal property or places that I've seen, used, heard about, or otherwise that have far more weeds in it, and it's.
Yeah.
Or
We used
anything
to try
else.
to teach people how to do it. We had a program of teaching
Yeah.
people. Now, this wasn't industrial level or
Yeah, but that's what
contractor
they're.
level, but
A lot of
Yeah.
people, and it's great, and it's why we have the smaller composters, et cetera, but from a municipal standpoint, it's a whole other.
Well, everybody's
Yeah.
trying to get rid of something for nothing.
Yeah,
yeah.
And they show up at the car at the transfer station and they have Japanese knotweed. And it's just rounded right over and they don't want to pay to get rid of that and throw it away in the municipal solid waste of the landfill, so they try and get rid of it through the composting because it's not being charged for.
Oh,
See what I mean? So there's always somebody trying to,
Game it.
game it. Yeah.
Yeah.
When Allison was talking about, like, it's like the electric car type of, like, evolution, how everybody's using gas cars, and everybody's like, oh, I don't know if I wanna get an electric car. That's kind of like the thing with the MRC and the landfill right now, it's like, well, we know that the gas car works really good, and we can just go there and keep on doing that, but is it the most environmental friendly? No. And then people say, well, I don't wanna get an electric car, because they haven't really figured that out yet. It's kind of like that kind of scenario right now,
Sitting on the fence.
yeah.
okay, well, it sounds like a lot is going on over there, actually.
Yeah.
The deconstruction thing. That has to do with
You
the,
should.
Okay, so, are we moving on to just a quick check-in, are we moving to town departments and other updates, or?
I can do that, yeah.
Okay, perfect.
So, this is kind of conservation related. We tore down the public landing wharf.
Yep.
And we had all the old wood from the wharf. And instead of throwing it all away, we salvaged a lot of it. And we gave it to the hatchery program at the high school.
Oh, nice.
And they deconstructed it all. And they made all these cool picnic tables out of it. And they painted them all, and they're giving them back to us to put back at the public landing. And then he's actually, Danny Solomon has actually built a bunch of other things with the wharf. They're doing all kinds of stuff with this wood from the wharf, and he wants to do this QR code, and when you go down to the public landing, you can scan the QR code, and it'll be a whole ensemble of the story of how the wharf got disassembled and how it got made into these other things.
Neat.
And we're having a get-together week after school ends, where, I mean, come on, we can't, I mean, that's pretty amazing.
No, it sells itself right there.
Oh, yeah. So, and, yeah, we're gonna have a big get-together with the kids that did the picnic tables and the guys that tore apart the wharf, and we're gonna talk about, and we're gonna have a cookout.
Oh, I
So,
love that. Excellent.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, that's how
Well,
we
they're
drop.
really, they.
Oh,
have
yeah,
A lot
they-
of stuff, there's a lot of wood there.
We dumped this stuff off with a dump truck,
Wow,
and they took it all apart and they made it into something else.
nice. Oh.
I mean, that's pretty, I thought that was pretty cool.
That was
I was a little
awesome.
hesitant, I was a little skeptical, I didn't think that, but he made it happen.
I'm so glad they have shop. for
Look at
And so those are all
what
gonna
they
be,
have.
all that stuff is gonna be reused back
Well-
at the municipal.
Because it's part of the 5 towns, we haven't really decided.
Oh, I see.
Oh, well, personally, I probably can't see.
But look how good those came out.
Yeah, beautiful.
So those are gonna go down to public landing.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's and then we planted several trees this year so far, but not a lot of them. We're just getting ramped up. I've got the summer guy coming on in person, so that'll be helpful. We've been watering them. We planted a
Looking
couple.
good.
We did the Arbor Day thing.
Yes.
We celebrated Arbor Day in Camden. We went to the, what was the name of them? Viles.
Miles Arboretum?
Yeah, went to the Viles Arboretum, and we got a growth award through Tree City USA.
We're the only town that did.
The only town that got a
Were
growth
you?
award, yep.
Were we? I mean.
Yeah, we're the only town that got the
You
growth award.
collected on by.
And that's, I guess that's a big deal with
That's
Tree
awesome.
City USA. And Allison, Barb, Dee Dee, Nancy, and Doug, and myself accepted the, I don't know, did we get something?
Nancy took it.
Oh.
The town did get something, but Nancy
Yeah.
took it.
Yeah, but we got an award of some sort. And that's in my feedback, I guess, so
Is there gonna be an article about the wood?
yeah.
I mean,
In fact,
I
that's
think
my job. I'm
It's
supposed to
so
be sending
good
something to
that
Dave
maybe
Dunkel.
somebody,
You like that one?
oh.
I know, that's, I was,
I don't feel capable of doing anything these days, frankly.
I told him to tell Linda Clancy, and he said Linda is having a little trouble getting it back to him. She must be very busy, so I said that's why he sent me all this stuff, is because I was like, this is a story.
It's a gorgeous story.
I'm gonna send it
You got the
to,
pictures.
yeah, I'm gonna send the stuff to Dan and Linda, and,
Yeah, I mean, they might write it up and
right.
you could tweak it and make it even more exciting.
And it wasn't an easy thing to kind of get everybody to go along with.
Oh,
too.
no, I think it's a real coup,
Yeah,
what you pulled off there. And, you know, it's kind of post-COVID.
she's the one that, she's the mastermind.
Okay, I know, she's a mastermind.
No,
She's-
no, this guy Danny at the hatch rate.
Well, yeah, but you suggested the whole using the wharf material.
Oh, I suggest giving everything to them now, so that's just nice. If you throw enough darts at the wall, eventually one will.
Something will stick.
I talked to the kids that are going through this program, and I go, tell me about this. Does this change how you look at things? Oh, yeah. It was amazing.
I mean, they might like to write something for one of the media, but it should be officially in.
Captured somewhere.
Yeah, I'm gonna work on that right
I mean,
now while we're.
It really almost could go state, you know?
So
Yeah.
they're gonna so they're also gonna be asking for some money from the Midco Solid Waste. We have, when we, a few years ago, decided to go to the landfill instead of trucking our waste extra far to Eco Maine to have to an already full facility, basically. We said, okay, if we're gonna save a bunch of money doing this, we need to set aside some of that money for some like meaningful diversion, recycling, education-related activities. And so there's $20,000 in the budget each year that's subject to board approval, can be used for education and diversion-related activities. So they're going to, one of the things they're gonna do is they're gonna put like a QR code on the picnic tables that are put out, and it's gonna link to a website that talks about waste diversion and like salvaging of materials and how to do it. And their hope is to get a piece of equipment, what's it called, a planer?
Planer.
That will
Big planer.
allow them to do more basically with the salvaged wood.
So you put an old piece of wood through a planer and it takes just a little layer off.
Yeah,
And then you flip it around and you take another,
Just
so you have like a new piece of wood when you're done.
yeah.
You know, because everybody always has these great ideas about what, like I do, like, oh, we could salvage this and turn it into this, but very few people are
We don't
really
have the materials, you
doing
don't have the time, you maybe don't have the setup, I mean, okay, you can't put it in your like front yard and do it, you know, make this
Right.
racket or, yeah.
So we finally have this group that's really well established at the high school and a teacher who is doing it and
Yeah.
knows how to teach it, and so trying to find more ways to support that.
So trying to give them some.
Everything they make the whole semester everything they make there is from salvaged materials.
What's the name of the program?
The hatchery
The
program.
hatchery.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm gonna send that.
So the trees are doing good, so in terms of stormwater, we haven't done anything because that date went kerflooey.
It was
on
pretty heavy rain.
Everybody.
It was a pretty nasty day.
Yeah.
Right. I did talk with the guy from the CAI who's tweaking the program a little bit. Yeah,
Okay.
the app. They're gonna be starting with stormwater cleaning, which is the app that they use that same app. And they're gonna go through and clean all the catch basins in the next couple weeks. So they go through and suck all the sand and everything out of them.
Yep.
Some of them are really full.
I bet.
I was looking at all the sand that went down last winter, and I'm thinking, you know, where's it gonna go, all this sand? And I suppose, is there a recovery of some of it, but is the hill steep, like Washington Street,
Well,
just goes into the drain?
it goes into the catch basins, fills the sumps up, and then you gotta suck it out, or the sumps don't work. Because then all the contaminants don't like go into the sump, they just get washed through the pipe.
That was my thought, I was watching all, because you had to have all that sand.
Well,
Yeah.
but we didn't clean it, we just started cleaning the catch basins religiously,
Oh, okay.
I think a year and a half ago, 2 years ago.
Okay.
Ever since we developed the app, that was the whole idea behind the app, was to help them clean the catch basins and to map the whole system out.
But we're probably gonna be using a lot more sand every year with the sort of icier year, or is it salt? this year?
Salt,
So we're gonna be using a lot more salt.
depends on the location, but yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
or we could not use anything,
And some places, the salt's gonna go into the trees, but,
or the wells.
wells, well, yeah. I
There's
was
something
just
called
thinking-
salt sequestering, do you know anything about that? Salt sequestering is where if you use a lot of salt in areas where there's an aquifer, it'll build up over time, it doesn't go away, it just keeps on adding, and then you get to a point where you've contaminated the aquifer with salt.
Yeah.
And that happens in places where they use a lot of salt. So you gotta be mindful of not overusing salt, but then sand has its problems too.
I sort of sometimes felt there was more salt than was needed, but then I could see over time that salt was still acting. So it's a hard calculation.
There's no easy answer.
Barb, do you have any updates on the McGuntacook River water quality panel? You seem to have been fairly,
I missed the last one.
you missed the last one.
Traveling, sorry.
No, it's fine. Just thinking out loud and in general that it's an obvious connection to the Conservation Commission, is to kind of stay aware of. We all can access it online, but, you know, if there's any particular project or a liaison or something that we should be thinking about reaching out to them. Sort of,
I know
feel like
the,
we're operating kind of like sort of separately with common goals perhaps, but with not a lot of connection at this point.
I'm on the email list for the, what's it called, McGuntacook Watershed Association, and which if anyone can sign up for that. And he, the new director, very interesting guy, talks about how that that there's a new, Camden launched new water level tools, which I'm sure is through the McGonagall River Advisory Association.
That's me.
No, you did it.
You're the
And
whole.
maybe you should report on it.
But see, they sent that out, the only reason
I'm
people know
shocked
about
that,
it.
I'm shocked that you knew about
See,
that.
I
So-
told you it's helpful when they do
So
that.
I found this app from Munich, Germany, I think it is, and it's around the world. And you can go in here, it's called Crowd Water. And you can do visual observations of seasonal streams, water levels. It gives you a virtual gauge, and you can go to like a place where there's no actual physical gauge, and it shows you how to use it. You can take water level readings, and what it is they're asking for public input to supplement professional input, because there's a lot of places that don't have professional people going out and taking water level readings. So you can go on Crowdwater and look up our area, or go to the website on the town, and you can click. See, I have 3 of the links right here. So this is the East and West Dam. You click that, and every day, see, I've already taken a picture of the gauge. So I've taken a physical picture of the gauge, and then over here in the write-up, it says physical staff gauge, units 1 inch, water level 1 inch above the spillway. The lake level is 1 inch above the spillway. Dam gate is set to 1.5 inches, which is the minimum river flow allowed by a permit. And then I'll write that every day, so you can go back and click any one of the circles to the right, and it gives you the day before. And it's a historical log of all of the water level readings and the set points of the dam, and any information that we're working on the dam or we're doing, because there was this perception that we were being not forthcoming with all the information. So it wasn't because we were trying to withhold it, it was just like, there was no like place to really put it.
Yeah, it's being kept track of. There's a notebook that goes back from 2014
Oh, I'm sure.
that I personally scanned in, because I was like, oh my gosh, all the answers are right here. That's actually on the town website now too. So if you want to look back at the old stuff, it's really interesting to see like how much it's fluctuated and what it does when you get 3 inches of rain, what that does to the lake after a certain amount of time, and it rises and falls a lot.
You just made my day though to tell me that you actually, somebody saw that.
Oh, yeah.
The system is working,
I
slowly
guess.
but surely, it's working.
Well, I give credit to the new head of the
New
McGonagall.
director.
Yeah, he wrote it
Director,
in.
yeah, he wrote it in a newsletter.
Yeah.
And so I was just looking at all this stuff.
Samantha, is there anything to update on the school sustainability committee? I wasn't able to.
Nothing to report. They haven't scheduled another meeting yet.
Okay, at least we're keeping them in the loop. We're keeping them on our radar. So the next item on the agenda is the public landing. Jeremy sent me a email this morning, requesting a letter of support for the grant that he's submitting for a planning grant. I have to look it up, hang on, I can read this.
Planning or planting?
Planning, hang on. So, but it was specifically from like the Conservation Commission, so, and he asked the Harbor Committee as well. He's applying for a shore and harbor planning grant with Department of Marine Resources. It's of course due Friday. I got another letter, I got somebody else asking for something for Friday too, so I was like, yay. It said he's also going to apply for the Governor's Office of Policy Innovation and Futures Climate Resilience Partnership, which is due in July. These grants, if awarded, would be building upon the Camden Public Landing Report from 2013 and the Wood Report from 2019 that was also funded by DMR, looking at the resiliency of the public landing. So it's looking for our support, our partners on the grant. He thought that the Harbor Committee and the Conservation Commission would be appropriate supporters for.
I think we should definitely support that.
So it's short and sweet. I can send it out. I can do it this afternoon and send it out. It's like literally would be like a paragraph
Yeah,
I'm not gonna go
I would
on.
write, since you're so receptive to our signage that we wanted to put around, I'm being sarcastic.
Contingent upon a letter of
Wasn't it
support.
the it wasn't Clint that was the,
No.
anyways, but, so anyways, it's
I'm
certainly
teasing.
like doing the right thing,
Yeah.
and I would just do a quick paragraph about sea level rise and, you know, ensuring that the lowest point in our, you know, the most visited and one of the lowest points that our watershed is, you know, clean and well kept and blah, 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 you know.
I'm so glad to hear that he's applying for those. Would you mind sharing the information? Can you forward the email you got from him, just so I can see what they are that he's applying for? Or whatever, you know, whatever he described, how he described it, but that's great. I'm so glad that we can have the opportunity to chime in and support.
So I can just send it out to you guys quickly for comments or whatever, but again, I will make it short and sweet. It's gonna be about a paragraph long, you know, on behalf, and then I'll just list us somewhere, the members at the bottom of the footer or something like that, and boom, send it off and be done with it. Okay, all right, very good. So that's all I had to say about that. Let me finish sending this to everybody, so everybody's left off. And I think I have, okay, then moving along. Oh, so I had requested via email the community resilience training. I went to the first one, it was terrific. The next one is set for this coming Monday at the Samoset, and I just can't do it. It's just not possible, but it looks like everybody else is committed to something else that day as well. And it's 10 to 4, lunch included, there's no cost. It's a lot about the funding and partnerships, and I can try to.
I can go.
Can you go? Because if you can, I'll forward it to you.
I want
It would be really good if somebody could attend to, like, you know, to share the information and to keep us on the forefront. But yeah, I just it's like, no.
I just talked to Joe, what's his last name? He was at the last one.
Oh, yeah.
For a while yesterday.
Here, I'll forward
He's
it.
not able to go to that one either.
I'll forward it to you again, just as a
Thank you, yeah.
heads up.
Thank
So
you,
there you go. That would be super awesome, because it looks great, but again, we all have other parts of our lives and commitments made, so I was like, no, definitely not on that list. Okay, so now we can talk about signage. Where's the signage for our beautiful watersheds and river crossings?
Well, they're gonna be in next year's budget, right?
Oh, because it's July, okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
and I'm gonna, Will gave me, before he
It happens.
left, he gave me the picture.
Yep,
What else did I have to go?
you have a list from Barb.
Barb
like,
sent me
all
the location.
river road
I
crossings
sent that
and
to
the names.
Clint said to go ahead and put them up.
So this is really like a late summer, early fall project then?
Well,
Which is fine.
midsummer.
Okay,
Yeah.
because it's July fiscal, you're a fiscal year, not a
July
calendar
1.
year. Yeah, okay.
Yep.
So then, with that, I would just say, obviously you have a crew of your own, but if it's something that you want the conscom or get one or two of us to go out with you and send your crew
Think it
somewhere
would
else.
be, I don't know if it's like something we want to get documented, photo of maybe some people putting one or two.
That would be great,
Yeah.
for
You know what I
sure.
mean? So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
just not done and lost in the,
Got
No, we
Yeah.
should have a little press about it.
Yeah.
For sure.
maybe we can like do a ribbon cutting, so to speak, of putting one in the ground, and I'll get it all ready to go. We could put some props in your hands and.
A trowel for the
Giant
shovel
scissors.
ready. No,
Do
but I think it's
something like
fun.
that, okay,
Yeah.
I'll figure that out.
You know, we're officially on the agenda, but before we leave Dave's area, I mean, we've talked about this before the meeting
Yeah,
started,
that's fine.
but just for the record, I mean, the Conservation Commission, along with the Public Works Department and a couple people from the Camden Garden Club, have been doing a lot of
Oh, the public landing work.
work down there to replace invasive species with a lot of
It looks
natives,
amazing.
but
I
not,
can't wait.
not
to try
completely.
that.
We- In some places, we just had to pick things that would be the best candles. Oh,
It was a lot
had long
to do.
flowering and had the
We
right
talked
height.
about the 60, 70, 30, you
We-
know,
we-
balances.
We
and-
worked
and
towards a
working.
direction, but it's not
It's-
necessarily a perfect thing. But most of the perennials that went in were native. And then we have high bush blueberries and some blueberries on the other side, so.
That's awesome.
But the limelights
What
aren't.
location is this?
To public landing. So in
Oh,
front
got
of, in front of the public bathrooms, the town took up all the Rosa Rugosa, which was a big job. And we planted 3 limelight hydrangeas, which will eventually get to be just high enough to block the, just up to, so as people walking in, they're not,
Feels like
Can't see
a
it.
little more privacy.
a little more privacy. And at the moment, and they flower from midsummer into late fall, which is when most people are visiting. And then, but this year, for now, the Camden Garden Club just put some buckets of, half barrels of flowers. And then we took out a bunch of weedy bushes that were by, around the corner from the,
Public landing sign.
we have around the corner from Lilacs, which near the public landing sign, we have high bush blueberries there. And everything was mulched by volunteers. And the mulch was paid for by Eric, what's the name of his building? The hotel, it's a hotel.
Eric Anderson,
Eric Anderson, and 50, what's the name of his address? It's the one with the.
Lord Camden Inn.
With
No.
the former,
What's it called? The one with the
with the rooftop.
rooftop bar. What's it called?
16 days.
16 Bacon, that's the correct name, I'm sorry, I should know that. And then the Public Works Department took out some, when they were redoing the walkway, the boardwalk, they took out some big flower boxes that had mostly invasive plants in them, had a couple trees. One tree survived, and most of them were dead. One tree was replanted and is doing pretty well in the public landing, and replaced them with some smaller granite boxes that are filled with native perennials.
And 2 trees.
And two hawthorn trees, which is what
Oh, nice. Those look great.
Mary Louise Bach had recommended for the area.
At the Olmsteads.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say that,
Yeah.
that digs
Yeah,
it.
so we're trying to follow some historical recommendations, and I think it's still, a lot of the plants are young, but it
It
will be,
looks really good.
it's
I'm
gonna
gonna
be
go right
good.
over
I don't even notice that kind of stuff usually. I was like, oh my gosh,
It's
look
just
at
kind
this.
of cleaned it all up.
Yeah.
Looks nice.
Yeah, well, we appreciate your efforts. I know you've been
Yeah, thanks, Barb.
really
Yeah.
putting some
Yeah, and we want to volunteer.
energy into it, so. So,
And I
awesome.
did talk with Steve, and he said that they would do the watering.
That was our big problem, trying to find someone to water when it was, yeah.
Mhm.
Well, if someone's not used to it, you need to remind them or check
I'll work
them.
Use me.
So I just want to give you an update on the NOx, the Coastal kind of Conservation Commission working group that started in advance of the community resiliency training, and, you know, so I met with Sandra from South Thomason, who was kind of the other energy around, you know, getting these towns together along the coast. And we are working with Meg and the team at MCOG now to see where we might be able to do more like site-specific projects, or to do some sort of collaborative effort with the coastal communities through the municipalities or the conscoms that would be kind of amplifying or in tandem, but not like crossing. You know, we want to make sure that we get together and we meet, or that we create some sort of energy and projects that are not going to be overlapping the efforts and the energies around it. It's mostly training and funding streams and larger scale projects that would not be appropriate for conservation commissions from MCOG. But so I don't think we're going to have like so much conflict as there's just this great surgence of yay, we're getting together and wanting to go way bigger, I think, than maybe was appropriately scalable for the number of people. And so we are kind of looking for the next steps post training on June 5th and regrouping to see if we can come up with some some appropriate projects or information to share. I mean, I see like the watershed and the river crossing signs as being, it's like kind of a no-brainer and easy, and if the people wanted to take that template and switch it out, I mean, little things like that where we can kind of like brand or support that kind of effort and outreach in other towns adjacent, you know, would be great, in the same thing, you know, learn from what the others are doing. So that's kind of where things are at with that group.
I was thinking that wasn't gonna have a reason to bring this up during this meeting, but
Leave it to me to.
I think I found a way.
Inadvertently open the door.
They're just really quick, because actually I posted something on the Rockland, Maine Facebook group yesterday, because there are all these alewives at Chickawaukee Lake trying to get in. They've made it all the way from Thomaston Harbor, like Fish Street, the Mill River. They've made it to the outlet of Chickawaukee Pond. The whole stream is black with alewives, and they've got this little teeny tiny dam there that apparently is normally open, and people there were telling me that normally the alewives can get through, but for some reason it's closed this year. Can't seem to figure out who's in charge of that, but I posted on this group asking, like, who knows about this? And I was directed to the Knox-Lincoln Soil and Water Conservation District. I was like,
well, I can figure it out.
That's a nice idea, but
no, yeah.
But it's like, so I followed the stream all the way through. You know, half of Chickawaukee is in Rockport, half is in Rockland. The fish come in from Thomaston. You know, every single one of these watersheds crosses multiple town boundaries, and so for things like, you know, like you're saying, watershed connectivity, and it would just be so great if we had better.
Yeah, I mean, I look at it like, you know, professionally, and sort of just how this is like, for me, it's like, okay, this is a great opportunity perhaps to do a regional state funding scenario where either one municipality takes the leadership, or the soil water conservation or another regional appropriate group takes the sort of admin, the holding, and we do grant, just as just an example, but this is the kind of work that could really like lend itself to do stream smart culvert crossings or fish lab, you know, like, yeah, like projects where it was like, everybody needs to do them. It's not like a town specific thing. It's like, we're all doing these, dealing with
That could
culverts.
actually be one,
We're all
because
dealing with,
it goes through all the towns.
we'll all deal, exactly. And it's like, so if we get this funding pool, and, you know, Camden wants to do, you know, 5 and 50% of the funding is through the town and 50% is through the grant, whatever it is, however it's set up, same thing, sometimes, but, you know, so many applications, and it's, yeah, I mean, it would just be really great to be able to kind of like share a collective effort and pool, and like get more work done on the ground, and, you know, instead of all these little disparate kind of operations happening. So that's where I think that working group might really kind of help.
Right, sometimes it's even just a matter of having like an email list of people that, you know, care about, are paying attention to these things in different places. Because like, you know, right now you can send out an email to the Conservation Commission or to the, but it's a little too small sometimes.
Yeah. So, yeah, so that's that. And then I wanted to thank everybody and get a little update, although I think we got a little bit of an update already on the Tree City USA and Arbor Day event, but also wanted to think about next steps, which I realize sort of some of the bulk of it is maybe late winter, early spring, but you know, we kind of got a lot in like February, March, and early April, and then it was like, boom, we gotta do the little Arbor Day thing. And so rather than feel like we're rushed into a little event, can we think about trying to put something on the calendar? When is it a regular date? You know, yeah, so
For
just
what?
for the Arbor Day, the tree planting, and any other reporting and things that we need to do. Just, I know, Sam, you said you kind of take a bit of a lead on this, or certainly work with. So I just wanted to make sure that we felt like we weren't
I have a
forced
question.
through a tight funnel at the very end.
It really depends on Dave, but do we want something in the newspaper that describes the Camden tree program and say to apply and get your name on the website.
I mean, we could
Do you
do that.
do you want to tell the community so that they're thinking about it during the hot weather?
I mean, I think it would be good to talk about somewhere that we got a growth award and that we planted 77 trees last year. And that we're continuing that effort this year. And we've ordered, I think we've ordered like 60 trees. And that if you want to get your name on the list, doesn't mean you're gonna get it planted this year.
Right.
But once you get on the list, we're gonna continue.
But to get yourself on, and then,
Right, and as we work through the list, we'll plant the trees in those locations.
I think explaining the system, which is so different from the garden club,
Right,
would be a good thing to do. If everybody's
Yeah.
okay with the messaging.
and well, having that app and putting someone on, the only thing that could happen is someone could sell the house and then someone else could buy it and that could change, but that.
But I mean, you sort
Those are
of
gonna be
deal
so
with that when you
few,
get there
yeah.
anyway.
It's better to have locations in queue
Yeah,
to work off of.
Because, even if the ownership changes, you can knock
Yeah.
on the door from
Yeah.
Mr. Smith and
And I think that it gets the word out that we're doing it, and it gets people the information they need to apply to be able to have a tree in front of their property.
yeah,
Because, I think a lot of people didn't think we were gonna, some people probably were skeptical at first, and now that they're all up, like, we had one situation where someone on Cross Street didn't want a tree,
Yeah.
and then we planted them, the ones you and I did over at Siegenthalers, and now they want them. They decided they
so
didn't
it
want them,
makes a
now they want
difference,
them, and we saw, oh, this isn't so bad, they took care of them, they grew,
yeah.
it wasn't like a wasted effort,
So,
so.
do
I
you
don't
want,
know, was that an action of somebody, or?
Well, it sounds like we should at least acknowledge what has been done, the award, and, and that there is a process that it should be, it's two concurrent programs, the Camden Garden Club does this, and this is great, and this is how to do it,
Right.
and with a little bit of a blessing, we'll lean in on Barbara or whoever and just say, hey, we want to.
The big
acknowledge
difference
it.
between the two is the garden clubs are more on private property, because they're paying.
Right, and ours are
well,
right.
they always
we do it
tried
right
to
away.
make it we always said right away, and then we didn't follow it.
Right.
But,
It's a good way
But
to kind of,
yeah, and you really want it on the right of way.
I
have
can't
to,
go on
yeah.
private property.
Yeah.
So it's really
Yeah.
better for the garden club to put theirs, have a little bit of flexibility to put it, in
Yeah.
the right of way on the garden, or on the private
Yeah.
property.
Yeah,
And
Okay,
so
I think that's
do
a
you want
perfect
to
next
write
step.
down what you wanted, and, I mean,
you want me to
I
write
don't
something
want-
and I'll send it around, you guys can
And we'll-
wordsmith it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not taking any creativity, I'm not gonna take any insult
No.
on the changing of it. I'll give you the meat and potatoes and you can
No, that sounds good.
make it into a meal.
yeah, don't forget to send it to me too. I didn't know about the meeting change, not that you have any, I don't know what you do when you change time, if there's any way you announce it, because it was on the door also, so they didn't really know.
Okay.
Now I got a notice saying that, like, somebody had entered my Zoom meeting, like,
Oh,
so
and you were like, oops.
I was like, did we have a meeting today? I'm bad with that kind of stuff anyway, so I.
Yeah,
just
well,
assumed it was-
everything's changing all the time now, so I'm very used to it, but.
Right, no,
But-
I'm sure I probably should, I'm sure there's a
Somebody should
lack of
reach out to
follow-up with
Will,
Janice
too.
or-
And tell him thanks for his efforts, because he was a big
Yeah,
part of all of that.
Yeah,
And,
I should,
But we did acknowledge him publicly
Mhm.
at the last meeting, and, so I don't know if there's another.
I tried to get him to go to the thing in Augusta with us, but he wasn't available.
is he still in town partly?
Okay.
I should just check in with
Yeah,
him,
we should just reel him
That's
back
what I'm
in.
saying.
check in with him now and then.
I see him from time to time because we're kind of neighbors and we're in some of the same groups. And I've told him multiple times how much we miss him and it's a real loss.
Good.
Maybe he's still willing to go out and do the tree mapping.
I know, I was thinking that might be.
He's really good at that.
Yeah.
He's doing this course at Duke, so I don't know if that's started yet, and it looked pretty heavy, which is environmental planning.
Yeah, I've seen all that stuff, it's really exciting. I'm jealous.
So speaking of mapping, that's next on the agenda. We attempted to get out last month. And then I think it was like the worst weather day and like everything all.
If it was May 1st, it was during the.
Armageddon, yeah.
But, and so consequently, we did not go out in it.
I did actually go out that
This is for water?
To do some stormwater mapping or so what I had suggested a month or two ago is that we set a date and if you can come, you can come, it's great, but like, we could try to like work a neighborhood or a street and just try to like
I thought you were gonna do the
knock
shoreline.
off some stuff. That was the plan, and you know.
Wouldn't this make sense, let's look on the tide map, and you pick the lowest possible tide.
I'm with you there.
Because then you can walk all the way, the whole way, and you don't have to worry about rocks and
Look at
all
all
that
the
stuff.
exit, yeah, so we
It's
should
flat.
probably do that.
But, you know, one time, Pam and I did go outside the meeting, and we mapped, we came up with suggestions for a day for trees.
Oh, no, I think
I mean, so-
any and all times we can go is great. I just know that sometimes it's sort of like,
I know, but
Like-
I think that was the May 1st storm that we got.
it was, you're right, it was like, it was.
Torrential.
Quite just storm, yeah. So maybe I'll send it out by email some dates, because
Like, pick the biggest tides, the biggest low tides that we have, and like, and then that would be the best time to go out.
That'd be good.
It would be,
Because then you can walk wherever,
yeah.
you know, you go out at low, you just don't wanna get caught.
Right.
We'll put a car at one end. and
Or we're gonna meet
Yeah,
some
that's
neighbors and be
true.
like, here we are, no, we're in a car in one
Put-
spot and a car in
Yeah, and
another
then you
spot.
drop off at the other, and then you can walk the whole
No.
way, and then you'll be at the other vehicle, and then it's pretty fun. You know,
No,
you
absolutely.
get to cover some ground, and you don't have to walk all the way back.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I noticed
I have one small question.
Sure.
It's a tree, so I'm getting ready to plant some trees on the Esplanade by the sidewalk, and I've got, so I've got the tulip tree, the American basswood, the red maple, the sugar maple, and the shagbark hickory.
Which Esplanade?
What's the Esplanade?
The one over here by, going down from
On
Quarry
Union?
Hill to Hannaford.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah.
The
Yeah,
little
we'll
area
look it up.
between the sidewalk and the road there, I was
Yeah.
gonna plant
Route
like
1.
Route 1.
Yeah, tulip tree would be too sensitive for that.
So no tulip tree,
That needs to be kind of tucked in a residential more.
I agree.
Indeed.
That was the,
That was, well, we knew that one liked a lot of water, and we thought on the side, the Hannaford side of the road, where there's like a lot of drainage,
Oh, yeah.
but it
That
isn't
that
really.
could be okay, but let's, for the Esplanade, just so I can kind
Yeah.
of get these going.
yeah.
I've got American basswood, red maple, sugar maple, shagbark hickory. Those are all 60 footers, roughly, 60-foot trees. What do you, I was thinking, do I just alternate maybe all four of them? Or do I alternate red maple, sugar maple, or do I alternate, I mean, it just, I was gonna go American basswood, red maple, sugar maple, and shagbark hickory.
Shad is 60 feet?
No,
No,
shag.
shagbark.
Shagbark.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
sorry.
That's a big
Or I could just do American basswood, red maple, sugar maple. But sugar maples, they don't like salt, right?
That's what I.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little more sensitive. The red maple's tough. That-
Red maple's
for
tough.
sure.
I don't know about the American basswood.
Yeah, I
Like
just
sweat.
read that, yeah, it's more of a lawn
So
situation.
maybe shagbark hickory and and red
Try some
maple.
shagbark, so we know what it does.
Mhm.
Oh, and then there's hackberry too.
Yeah, hackberries
Yeah.
are great. They don't have a great fall color. I know you were looking for that as well, but the.
Right, that's why I thought the sugar maple and the red maple might be nice coming into town.
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah, it would be really nice.
So-
I think you should try the two that we don't normally have, just somewhere, so we get to watch them.
But not there.
No,
Oh.
there.
No, that's a very prominent spot. I like the alternating maples personally, but
I like the alternating maples. I just think you're gonna find that the sugar maples may struggle there. They're, again, a great street. If you're lining like Washington, you know, where it's a little elevated and they're back a little bit, it's not, I mean, that's
They're
a
gonna-
lot of, that's a lot of impact over
They're
there.
gonna,
You're gonna take a beating.
the other thing too is I could plant something else, but we wanted to plant something native, you said, so. I mean, the ginkgos are
No,
the,
no.
No, you don't need to put, you don't need to put
We got
ginkgos
ginkgos
there.
in
those
town.
are tough.
We got ginkgos, enough ginkgos.
But you know, I planted
It's fine.
the
They're
the
fine,
maples over here, and they look like they're doing good.
Yeah.
So
Is
I
it-
guess I could just do the red maple, sugar maple combo and see what happens.
Well, I was just suggesting you put one, I mean, how many trees are you planting there?
This is a long run there.
Right, so
Yeah.
just put in one of these,
I'll alternate them in,
of the other guys, so that,
see if it does anything.
don't be, you don't have to be uniform, you could put one specimen here and another of the shagbark and the hackberry.
I can't do that.
You can't,
My brain will not let me do that. It has to be,
sorry.
it has to be in a sequence.
And especially since, you know, my design
I'm
brain
with you,
too.
David. I'm just like that. I'm just like that. It's just funny. You're like, my brain literally will not let me do that. I get it.
Yeah,
And I think because you're calling it an esplanade, to me, it does sound like sort of an alley almost of a, you know, a one or two different species of trees.
So you
really,
don't
that
want
are all
something
similar,
sticking
so-
up.
Yeah, you don't want a random different bunch of
No,
trees. I
not
mean,
like
that,
a
I
forest.
wouldn't be able to drive by it. I'd have to go around it.
Yeah.
Boy, am I different.
Can we
All right,
just,
I'll leave you
can we
alone.
do four red maples then, or just try the sugar maples? You really think it wouldn't work?
you could try. It's not like they've never been planted. They're just, they are more sensitive than the red maple. You may find you replace the
This is-
sugars with red eventually. and
I'm gonna
that's fine.
research the basswood and the shagbark and the hackberry and see how they like salt, and then I will alternate three species. But you said that hackberry doesn't have good fall colors.
Probably just yellow. I
You
don't
can
think
have
it's-
one dull tree.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll
All
shut
right,
up, I'll
yeah.
shut up.
It's
All
not
right.
a good ginkgo yellow, but it's just kind of a, you know, like a muted sort of,
Yeah,
you know.
it's fall boring.
Okay, sorry
It's
about,
good wildlife.
sorry about lumping you into that. You didn't need
No, that's-
that anguish that I was.
Totally fine, totally fine. Yeah, that's totally fine, okay.
And do you think it's possible to get like a little small flowering tree behind the Welcome to Camden sign?
Oh, yeah,
That
yeah.
would be nice.
I think we could plant all black locusts there too. That would look good.
You get me
You
going.
feeling the evil stink eye?
Yeah.
We need some Halloween trees, that's what
That's
I
my
call
favorite
it.
tree.
Halloween trees, yeah. Moving on.
The reason they're invasive is because DOT planted them in a lot of places, and then they learned.
They learned, and they became extremely salt tolerant, and, well, because they also, they have like very, very successful adventitious roots system, and so
Oh, yeah.
they will run literally underground, barely like right in that duff layer, or just in that
Yeah, I
topsoil
have
layer
them
for.
I have them for one tree in the
That's right, for
yard.
pepper, and you chop it off, and they're like, fine, up it goes to the new
That's
trees.
what's great about them. They just,
They're legumes
Forest.
trying to heal the land.
Yeah, I hear ya.
No, it's okay.
So, moving on from trees to people, we're gonna go to note again the resignations of Brian Robinson and Will Addis, and that has the select board, I mean, this is what I didn't add, but has the select board formally put Brian Lakebody in, and when or if,
How,
mean,
what's it gonna take?
he's doing the work and ready, willing, and able, so, and which I know you know that, but like, we need to like formalize him as, it would be great if we could.
Yeah, because I noticed in the town report, it said, it had David Kitty and not,
I know, and that was because
Yeah,
he
why
was
don't I-
formally on the list, and so it was like, and he hadn't,
we
yeah,
gotta get
anyways.
that fixed.
yeah, why don't I go chat with James right now?
Okay.
See if I can get him.
Brian's a powerhouse.
And because he put the paperwork in too, so it's
Oh,
not
yeah,
like
no,
anything
I-
else is lacking there, so.
I'm
Awesome,
not sure
what's going on there?
happened,
Okay.
but
Okay.
I can find out.
We don't wanna upset Brian.
And so, yeah, so, I mean, obviously, we have this, the room, plenty of room for him to be formally put on the committee or the commission for
Does that mean
the
that-
select board.
Also-
But if the select board has to do it, that's
Well,
definitely.
Pam, one thing we could do is, Pam last month suggested that we nominate Samantha as the vice chair of of this commission.
We do have a vacancy in the committee.
Can we officially nominate her? I
Officially.
second it.
It's really, can you run the meeting if I'm not here and, in my absence? And the Conservation Commission is formally kind of legal, the structure is set up with a chair, a vice chair, and a secretary. And so it's kind of protocol as much as anything.
Yeah, and also Samantha, you had mentioned that, at one point that you had wanted to sort of extend your 1 year, duty or service or whatever you want to call it here. And I think Will was
Was
a
a
3-year
three-year.
member. So if you filled Will's vice chair position,
That would
And
put
you
you
would
in
just
for 2 more years
automatically-
automatically.
yeah, the membership would be
think
Whatever
that-
works. I'm happy to do it that way, or just have my term renewed in August.
Yeah,
Sure.
Whatever works best for you guys in the town, whatever's easiest.
okay.
So do we have an opening then? You know, like-
Because Will was the vice chair.
No, but I mean,
Do
we
we-
had 2 people that.
Yeah, so we'd still have an opening. Yeah, well, actually, technically,
2 openings.
we have 2 openings because Dave Kibbe joined on earlier and expressed interest and then decided not to, but it was after he was formally
Right.
appointed there. I was like, what's the right
I don't
term?
think
By the select board.
Do we know anybody that would be
So,
interested, like attending a meeting or 2, and then if they liked it, something they're interested in, then they could,
And that is the other.
I had a great candidate, but then she bought a house in Rockport instead of Camden, so.
Oh, she's banished. No, I'm just kidding.
No, it's Amy Thompson who was doing wild, who did the,
Yeah.
yeah, she would have been great, but
Yeah.
not in Camden.
That's interesting. So we could ponder. Let's try to each come back with a name for the next meeting. It's not it's not a crisis such scenario by any means, but we, could be good. Could be good to.
Does this
I also think it'd be great to, we talked about this in previous meetings, having a youth sort of committee member, a
high school student?
high school student. I'll reach out to Margot
Okay.
and see if she has somebody that she would recommend. That obviously is a Camden resident because we are in town, but yeah, that might be, that would give us an interesting, and it's not an enormous commitment, and if it was a junior, senior person, they would be able to come to meetings or even pop on online from a classroom scenario,
Mhm.
So, okay, so that's cool. That works. Okay.
Does the select board have to do anything to renominate Samantha or anything? Is that?
Yeah, they changed her term,
Yeah.
they would change her term.
Why don't we just make it, can't she just be the vice chair now, and her term
And when it-
expires in September, and
and
then
then she could renew as a
renominate
1 or a 3 at
Okay.
that point, yeah,
You could do that.
depending on if there's a vacancy.
Yeah.
Okay, yep. So we have enough here to move this forward from a voting standpoint. So you moved, you
I seconded,
seconded.
yeah.
She didn't say no. So, all right, so all in favor of Samantha taking forth from here forward the vice chair role on the Conservation Commission. Excellent. Congratulations, you are now the vice chair. Awesome. Okay, so high school student and then others. Thank you. So we'll let Janice know, so that'll be tweaked on the website, however that's done. I screwed up. I didn't read this thoroughly before I sent it out. It says to discuss adding to the April agenda, but it should be now the June or July agenda. She's not available in June because I've talked with her, but Molly Stone has reached out to me a couple of times now about bringing What's that?
Pesticides.
About talking about pesticides in town, and she said, is this something that the Conservation Commission wants to take up in a future meeting, and she would be willing to come. She can't come in June. And I said that I would be happy to bring it to the committee. And, you know, I did preface it with that it's gonna be a complicated conversation, and to,
I think Brian
Be
actually
prepared.
worked in the industry as a consultant or something, so. But when I've talked to him about it, I mean, I have all this experience with board pesticide control, and not regulating, but I think people felt that educating about pesticide use would not be too offensive.
no, I think education is huge,
And I think Brian's comfortable with that.
Mhm.
Well, one of the things I've promised, like a lot of these homes along Bayview Street, which is all the water runs right into the harbor, and they're heavily, it just reeks of
Pesticide and fertilizer,
pesticide. What?
pesticides and fertilizer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like all places.
Does Molly propose, does she have a presentation that she wants to give to us, or is she asking us to research it ourselves?
No, she's really asking us, I shouldn't just say pesticides, because that's not broad, it should be pesticides and herbicides, because there is a clear difference.
Pesticides include herbicides, but nobody knows it.
I know, well, I
And you
guess,
can really run into trouble, because I asked, does this grass have pesticides in it? Well, they don't, they think that's for insects.
yeah, yeah.
And it includes herbicides, so
I know,
it's.
so that's why I think
It's kind of,
the education piece is really key. So yeah, so she doesn't have a presentation per se. She's got great concerns for valid reasons, and is sort of hoping that more might be able to be done on a municipal level.
well, the problem being that a lot of people are moving into town who bring their application habits with them. So you've got signs popping up,
Yeah,
but it's not just that.
yeah, so.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So she's gonna come speak with us before we need to do anything more. Is that the idea? We'll hear from her and then,
Well, her sister is having it, is really sick, so her time is not really,
So what, yeah, right now she cannot come in June, she might be able to come in July or August, but, life and things happen, so we have to be, flexible with that. But I guess it's, what is our role, as a conservation commission, not that it doesn't relate to conservation by any stretch, it certainly does, but and how much do we want to take on based on other projects and activities that we have, and, the capacity, so.
It does seem like it's, yeah, and does it work into a larger conversation about things like the application of those pesticides on the oak trees on Bayview Street? Like, do we take, a position on that, whether it's trying to rework ordinances, if they need to be reworked, or, No,
I don't think, but
no.
that could be wrong.
So, yeah, from a professional standpoint, not just a personal standpoint, having, working in conservation across multiple municipalities and, at the state level and, and in other states before here, the things that I'll just put forward to think about, and we can come back to this conversation and how we address education outreach, ordinances, et cetera, is one, they're legal. Two, there are places and times and spaces that they do in fact have a place and serve a purpose if done in a very calculated and by the label approach. And I think that the people that are behaving in the worst possible manner and causing the biggest ecological impacts are unlikely to be the ones we're going to hit with, a citywide ban on pesticides, I think they're just gonna use them anyways, because I can buy them in Rockport or, wherever. It's like, you could not necessarily buy them here or be allowed to use them, but nobody's gonna, I can't see what's going on behind the 20-foot hedge, in my neighbor's yard. I can't, how do you police that, right?
Enforce it.
What's the enforcement ability? So I do think that there's a lot that can be said and done through education and outreach and a better understanding of, the importance of following and reading a label, or making sure that you're using the appropriate pesticide for the appropriate application if need be, or what companion planting and, other things. The difference between a cut stem treatment and a foliar spray, and but it's a very complex issue, and and to tell somebody they can't spray around their foundation for termites when they've got termites.
The termites will probably come too.
Well, but it's not that we haven't, but is it just sort of as everybody can think about an example?
One problem with the public is they think that they're regulated very strictly, but it's really actually very loose.
Well, with the
what actually
pesticides,
happens.
it's very loose, yeah, really.
And people don't know that, and then
Enforcement is it?
because they're counting on the government to do it, they think they don't have to think about the health problems. So mentioning some of the health problems is probably worth it. Doesn't have to be heavy, but it is part of the education that's missing.
Yeah.
Maybe it would be good to have like commonly used herbicides, insecticides, fungicides, and then alternatives to those.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that people
Yes.
know that there's an alternative to the same thing, and then when you talk about the item, the herbicide, you could say, here's some of the things that are dangerous, or you gotta be careful, and then, an alternative would be this, which isn't so bad.
Right.
Try this first, maybe.
And even where there's controversy, like with the Roundup thing, one concern I have with the wild ones is that if they're getting rid of invasives or preparing for putting natives in, if they think, I don't think they do, I think they probably have really good guidelines, but anyway, you know what I'm talking about, so.
Yeah, so again, I don't think it's a conversation we shouldn't have more, but again, it's also what's the capacity, what's the role, do we want to take this on as yet, another project, do we want to think about it for next year, or,
I think a guidance
it's,
document, just
but I
have on
think
the website,
Yeah,
just something that you could say, hey, you can go to, because like brown tail moths,
Oh, boy, yes.
brown tail moths, you can get ivermectin online, you can inject it in a tree, but it can kill your tree, but there's a guy locally that we worked with, Anita Scott. I mean, they've got a drone
yeah.
system that will go up.
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah.
so cool, yeah.
I mean,
Seen that.
that was from Canada. And I had been
Yeah, that's
researching
big,
that, working with Anita on that, and I was like, look at that.
Allison has good luck, knows a person.
Yeah, they ended up,
It's cool, it's her son's father.
he's the one that does it.
Yeah.
And it works great.
Yeah.
And, you don't need any chemicals.
And people will be really excited about it because it sounds.
And then you don't need a lift to park on the lawn, to
Yeah,
move the lawn.
yeah.
There's all kinds of benefits to not having the heavy mechanical.
Yeah.
But
So, yeah, I would definitely be for education and outreach and,
some kind of,
and helping to build a web page within the website.
I'm sure
if
it's
that's,
already been done. I'm
And
sure
no,
we could.
I can reach out to the
And
board of
if you have a
pesticides.
webpage, you can have links for specific.
Well, that's what,
To
if
send.
we can develop a web page that's, brown
Yeah.
tail moth and this and that,
Right.
and
Least
you know,
invasive, most invasive.
alternatives to
Yeah.
I
pesticide
think there'd be
treatments.
other communities interested in having.
Yeah, again, and
this.
maybe this is the Knox Community
Yeah.
Resilience, the Knox Working Group is develop a.
I know, I would
grant
look at that. I mean, I'll learn it through the research, but I tend to do that anyway. What's the two things I can use? All right, well, this one's not so bad. I'll probably try that,
Yeah,
One other thing that ties into this is June 17th from 1 to 3:30 is hazardous waste collection day at the transfer station. Okay,
June 13th,
17th.
June
17th.
17th. And that's for herbicides, anything that's corrosive, ignitable, toxic, or reactive. Those are the 4 things that make something hazardous.
You saying
Pesticides.
herbicides or general pesticides?
Well, pesticides and herbicides are toxic, so they fall into that
Okay,
one.
so I really gotta say the 2 words. Sorry, it's a big shift for me,
Mhm.
because technically pesticides is insecticides.
Insecticides, right.
And
It'll be helpful if you can do insecticide and herbicide or pesticide and herbicide, only because
it takes everybody.
it will, yeah, it'll take in all the little naysayers. Well, you're just talking about,
If you said
Pesticides.
pesticides and then parentheses, insecticides, herbicides, I don't know if you want to include rodenticides, because it's usually,
Rodenticides, yeah, we're gonna take all that stuff.
and fungicides is
And
another one.
fungicides,
So
right.
there's actually
There's a
at
bunch
least
of
4 of them.
sides, we'll call them
right,
sides.
no, I think it's just, I'm just saying it's important that we just, we wanna kind of,
But remember, that would be June 17th from 1 PM to 3:30, and get there early if you want
1
to
to
do it.
3:30.
Oh boy, that's a small window.
It
fun
is.
with them, yeah.
And,
But thank you for noting that.
yeah, and Midcoast Solid Waste will pay for half of the disposal
And it's
costs.
going to be publicized.
Yes, it will, but I figured I'd say it now, because,
Yeah.
maybe it's.
Or
Oh,
somebody
people will
else.
miss it, but then you have another one next year.
Yeah, we're gonna try to do 2, but this is the first one.
So we're ahead of schedule, good job,
Yeah.
us. So the next meeting is on the agenda, is on the calendar for Wednesday, June 28th, from 12 to 2.
Oh, it is, okay.
That is the last, yeah. Supposed to be the 4th of the last.
Before we close, I had a question about, I don't know if it's, I guess it's old business. We had at some point talked about a zoning overlay related to the, the streams and additional restrictions beyond what the shoreland zoning restrictions are. I think that was something that Jeremy wanted to work on, and I talked to him a while back and he brought it up again, and I just wondered, I don't remember if we made a decision to not do it or what.
No, it's Shenley and I are up to our hoo-has in different projects and information, so it keeps getting deferred. It's sort of in the queue, just not as high up as.
But it's important.
It
Yeah,
is
what-
important.
Sorry, you said you and who?
Shenley, Jeremy's assistant.
Oh, got it.
Town planner, yeah, so what I need to do is talk to a couple people at the state, or my colleague who used to be the former state soil scientist, and I really, some public information, I think that soils are the way that is gonna make a huge difference, because you can't argue with the soil types.
Yeah.
And there
I'll show
are
you where it is.
very logical, very complete sets of data out there, and very easy ways to do,
Got it.
to do soil testing if necessary, to prove out said soils are in fact what is on the map. And I think that those are the avenues that they physically make a great sense, because you can have wet hydric soils that are dry because of the year or the time of year or the year of weather patterns, but are always and still going to be hydric soils. The plants will often tell the story too, but the soils never lie, so.
Okay, I just wanted to ask, I just was confirming it's still on the radar, and then
It is on the
that was
radar.
also in the context of when I had spoken with Jeremy, we talked about the idea of him coming to one of our meetings and perhaps just either sitting in or sort of just talking through with us what he has going on, and I really liked that. And so I don't know if we could formally invite him, to have a chunk of time a la Nancy Jenkins, but differently, where he talks about what he has going on and solicits input or.
Yeah, I think that kind of is great, yeah.
Yeah, he got messed up with, what's his name, Hedstrom's River. thing, the state gave Headstrom permission to strip the edge of the river, and Jeremy tried to prevent him to, because it really should have been protected. So I mean, he probably has other experiences too. Am I speaking?
You're good, I can hear you.
Well, no, I was just worried about being public,
No.
because I don't take that into account.
Anything else on other
The
business?
Sea Fair is
Oh,
on
the Sea Fair.
Friday. The Conservation Commission will be at the Sea Fair. Well, I will be. Brian is away. Brian was gonna join me, but he's away. So Beatty will be there sort of as
He's
a
gonna be there.
street tree volunteer. We'll have tree sign-up sheets for people and, signs saying these are free trees from the town if you want to sign up for trees. Is there anything else that, obviously we could talk to people about anything that we're doing, pure moratorium or native, the
More
public.
volunteer support, because I'm available Friday afternoon if you need an hour or two to.
If you want to come, Samantha, I think Molly is going to try to be there as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
I mean, I might just come hang out with you guys.
Yeah,
Of course,
do.
that would be fun.
And,
Yeah.
and Molly really doesn't know if she can come, so.
Okay, well, I'll be there. I'm gonna actually have my daughter come after school, walk over and join me, which now I'm having flashbacks because last year that was apparently the day she got COVID and brought it to me. So
Wow.
hopefully we won't, knock on wood, that won't happen this year.
I hope it's outside. I think the weather is supposed to be
Well,
iffy.
Yeah.
An email just came.
It's this Friday, we are supposed to have thunderstorms, in fact, that's why I was gonna say.
Yeah,
That,
they're moving it to the middle school auditorium or cafeteria, maybe.
Yeah,
That's what it
and they're worried about parking too, so
yeah.
if it,
Well, I was gonna mention, because of the thunderstorms, it's so heavy at times, that we should keep an eye on
Mhm.
drainage,
Oh, yeah.
water things,
Oh,
that
yeah, stormwater.
stormwater, because it'll be moving in fast. It was supposed to be quite heavy.
Yeah, so it might be at the middle school, Samantha? Do you
Okay,
have any, if it's, I'll send you a link. If Barbara changes the location from the amphitheater to the middle school, I'll make sure you get that email.
okay. Well, and if you need help moving things or setting up or whatever, I can do that. Just let me know.
All right, thank you. Yeah, it's gonna be simple.
Good.
she's making it
Awesome.
simple.
So,
And terrain.
all right, so thank you for taking on Seafair and appreciate that. Sorry for it being neglected from the agenda.
No worries.
Obviously, lots of moving parts right now, so.
I have a map question. What you said about soils kind of answers it, but are maps fine enough, like, what's it called, Linex or something, or that you can actually see where all the dippy parts are to a very small scale, or is it they're just not good enough aerial maps?
Well, yeah, I mean, I can tell you more about, like, I guess that might involves a little more detailed question. We'll talk to you more about that.
I don't know what's available.
Yeah,
So
the
you
aerial
can
maps.
tell where the water's gonna go from a map?
Not always,
No,
not always. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. I guess it depends on the nature of the map that you're
Yeah,
looking at.
okay.
But the topography maps would be
Yeah, that's
some
what I
good
mean.
indications, so.
But I've never seen one that was fine enough for the kind of work that you need to do.
What is it for?
Well, for seeing where the wet spots are and where the storm drains.
She's taken ones in the wintertime, right around springtime,
Uh-huh,
where the tributary will melt,
uh-huh.
and it's unbelievable that you can see
And you really can see.
everything.
Yeah.
Which you can't see when it's, where you can't see it in an ortho or like a,
Right, exactly.
but she does drone shots. And she's doing them all around town, and you look at the drone shot, like when there's like snow cover, and it's like towards the end of the season, when it melts and it gets rid of the snow in the stream or the drainage area, it gives you a whole different perspective of where the water's moving.
Okay, so it's not even topographic, but it shows it.
It shows it, and it's, I was amazed, I was looking at it, wow, that's,
Okay.
it really gives you a
I
different,
just wondered what other tools
Yeah.
there were, and this is
the drone one seems
amazing,
to,
amazing answer.
yeah.
All right, well, everybody, thank you for your time.
Ask
We'll
her-
meet on
Ask her about
the
It's
last
unreal.
Wednesday of June, the 28th, from 12
that. I was
to
like,
2.
wow.
Same time, same place.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rebecca.
Oh,
Signing off.
well, you guys are great.
I gotta go see the great stuff happening down at the
I
landing.
know, I haven't been there since the floats were all still up there, and there was all kinds of equipment up there and dump trucks,
I feel
so.
like I was there not that long ago, but apparently it's 2 weeks is too long these days.
A lot can happen.
I think she's still signing off, and he's still signing off. I'm gonna lock the door back up so I don't forget.
I just can't see where the cursor is, oh, there it is. Get rid of that. Maybe?
I hope we do have it outside.
I hope so too, although it doesn't look
Doesn't
promising.
feel,
I know. And, you know, we had so much, just passersby traffic last year, I think, people just wandering by and thinking, oh, what's up, going on up there?
we did.
Because I don't know how well publicized it was outside of
Well,
just emails between groups that were coming.
Mm-hmm. I saw a sign of her, I've seen a couple signs from you.
Have you?
Yeah.
That's good.
I thought it was probably will be.